This is Dictabelt.
Imagine a world where your favorite vinyl records don't appear in the form of a round record, but in the form of a belt, a Dictabelt. And imagine another world where your cassettes don't appear on cassette form, but those magnetic tapes are also a belt. Well, these are two competing formats. IBM made the Magnabelt, Dictaphone made the Dictabelt. Today we're going to look at the Dictaphone 800 Visible, also known as the Dictabelts Frankenstein Dictaphone machine. Now, the reason I call it Frankenstein is it's kind of a mixture of things going on here. The recording that you are hearing now was cut onto or embossed onto this Dictabelt, and its source was a microcassette tape being played on a Dictaphone microcassette recorder. That signal was ran into this Allegiant LT838 very inexpensive amplifier, which is then running wires directly to the cutting head. And these two wires here were easily removed from an internal circuit board and plugged into the back, as you see here. All the capacitors were replaced in this machine, but I found that there's several problems. One, replacing all the capacitors didn't fix the problem of the audio quality, which sounded a bit distorted. Secondly, it has a faulty playback or a recording system where sometimes you hit record and it actually starts recording. Other times you hit record and all you get is like noise and a very faint signal. The third problem I had with it was that the cutting head sometimes doesn't retract. So after it's going into playback mode, the recording head is supposed to be removed from the surface of the record, and sometimes it was following along again a second time through the recording grooves. Now this unit actually does a bit of embossing in comparison to my record cutter, which you've seen on my channel, that leaves swarf behind because it's actually cutting material out of the record. In this case, we are actually embossing a groove onto this plastic material. Now, you'll also see on my channel a third competitor of a Dictaphone machine that was not made by Dictaphone or by IBM. It was made by Thomas Edison's company, and it uses a round record, but it uses the same technology that this Dictaphone uses. It would emboss a signal onto the recording, and you can see that on my channel as well. It's called a diamond disc Dictaphone or Ediphone machine. So here are the controls that we have on the front of the machine, and you'll notice here that there are three knobs. One for the input that allows you to select whether you're going to dictate or record a conference, which would be, a more distant person from the microphone. You have a tone control and a volume control. You have the I don't know what you would call this paper here on the front, I guess an index or a guide that tells you how far you are into your recording. And you can mark your recording by hitting a couple of knobs on the microphone. So let's take a look at the microphone real quick. You'll see here on the microphone you have a microphone that also works as a speaker, and then the unit itself has a fairly large speaker to be used for like a conference, so like lots of people could listen to this recording. That's what we're using now, is the built-in speaker. The controls there, if you see letter and correct there on the microphone handle, letter would pop one mark onto the index, and the other one would mark another mark on the index. You have a little back button here and a listen button. You get to those by pressing up or down on the control. And this big square black button here is actually the record button. You'll also notice that I have a couple of styluses or needles laying in here to show you. These are very standard needle that you'll find out there in the world of turntables, especially with children's turntables and record players. And the one that's in this unit has actually been modified. It's been cut so that it's not quite exaggeratedly cut as this one is, but it's a very similar process. So as far as the unit goes, it works fairly decent, as you are hearing now. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the record for a moment so I can speak to you live and give you a few more tips on the way this unit works.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to me actually being played back from this very cool Dictabelt record. Just to prove to you that that's what was happening a minute ago, I'm going to take the controller here and just do a little cool back button action here. Watch the stylus move back. Moves back a little bit each time. I don't know why it beeps in between. It's got some kind of a beeping problem. And then I hit the listen button here.
Grooves. Now this unit actually does a bit of embossing.
Yeah, it's embossing us around here. So just to explain this this index a little bit better, there's two controls on here, letter and correct. So letter means I can mark the distance of my letter. So I just put a mark in there. So I could say, okay, my letter is from here to here, and I made a correction right here. See the C on there? So that other little mark there would say, okay, I moved forward a little bit, and then I made a correction in my recording. Boop, right there. So there was no way to erase the recording, so you pretty much just had to say, okay, redact what I just said and change it to this, And the secretary could have a marker on there to tell her that that was going to happen, and she could look for it. It has a roll of these index papers in it, which is kind of cool. I pushed the little button there, unlike what I just did. And lift this up, and you'll see that there's actually a roll of paper in there. So you put the roll in, and then it advances with this knob right here. So I can push this, and it will advance the index paper out of there. And then I can just tear it off on the end and include it with the record and hand it to the secretary, and she will load that into her machine and play it back. So that part's kind of cool. It's got a very, very quiet running motor in it, as you can see here. The belts are original belts. And as I said in the recording earlier, I had to replace the capacitors in it, which is fine. It didn't improve the recording quality, but it did definitely stabilize the playback quality. But as you heard, it's just kind of a little bit distorted, and that's probably just because it's been used so much. And then, of course, you've got this Allegiant Amplifier here that I use to drive the cutting head instead of using the built-in amplifier, because the amplifier's just got something kind of weird going on with it. Some kind of a fault in the sense that I would say maybe even a short, because sometimes you'd hit record and it would record just fine. Other times it would just become static. So to do a recording, I mean, you just mainly just move your stylus to the end of where your grooves are. I don't know if you guys can see, but that is where the recording ended, right there. So my recording ends here, because you can see this darker line over on this side, or stripe. So I would move my little meter up to align with that, and then I would push the big black button, as we showed here. I'll show you the cutting head that's on the bottom. I can't really give you too much detail on it. I'll go ahead and cut the power to it first. And it is underneath here. And if you lift up the bottom, there was a plate on the bottom that I took off. This is the plate here that I removed. And what I did is, oh yeah, it works better down here, actually. So this part right here, that is your cutting head, and there is a set screw in the middle, and you'll see that it's got that paint on it, and you can adjust the recording quality, I guess, or tune the quality by turning that little screw. And it took quite a while of fiddling with that thing before I finally got it to an acceptable setting. There's a little solenoid that you see here that works to retract that head, and it's a little bit on the weak side. So sometimes it doesn't retract, and then you get a distorted recording because then it starts trying to record on the recording again. So it actually cuts from underneath here. You'll see the blue there, which is the record. So again, we can come back a little bit so you can see the bottom of the bass unit there. And again, that white set of wires goes directly to the cutting head. It was actually kind of easy to trace that. So anyway, this is a really cool piece of technology. I hope you guys think it's as cool as I do. But I've spent a lot of time I almost gave up on this thing. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. But then I thought, I'll do the Frankenstein method, as you see here, so you can at least hear its capability of playback quality. And again, that stylus in there that you see in there, the plastic piece, they trimmed it in order for the stylus to reach to the record without that built-in part on there. You'll see that these styli, these are actually little mini cartridges. So they're ceramic cartridges with a stylus on it already. And so the dictaphone company trims off that triangular end that you see there by my thumb and make it more like this, although they didn't quite cut off as much as I did to try out a different stylus in it. So I found that the one that's built in works better than any of the spares that I had laying around, probably because they're old and so forth. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this recording and playback on the Dictaphone 800 Visible, and I hope you found it entertaining. If you want to see a little bit more, hang on a second. In the next edit, I'm going to show you a playback of a record that came with it. Otherwise, share this with a friend, and like, and please subscribe to my channel.
This is Dr. Young. This is a test recording being made on this Dictaphone Time Master Model 851 for test purposes and is not to be transcribed. Checking recording and reproduction. Check playback. Forward again, testing for stopping and starting. Checking recording and reproduction. Check playback.